Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to today's Srimad Bhagavatm class. Before we start our class, let's do a Mangala Charana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaim Narotamam Deving Saraswating Vyasam Tato Jayamudi Rayat Nasta Presha Vadareshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistikahi Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Salakaya Chaksuramritanjana Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Krishna Prasthaya Putale Srimate Japataka Swami Iti Namni Nama Acharya Padayani Tai Kripa Padayani Gora Kadadam Dai Nirgram Tani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome everyone to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, chapter number 10. Chapter entitled Lord Shiva and Uma glorifies Markandeya Rishi. So in this chapter we will hear how Lord Shiva and Uma Devi decided to go and visit Markandeya Rishi to get benedictions and blessings from a greater Vaishnava. So this is a very exemplary behavior of a Vaishnava. Vaishnavas considered others to be more exalted than themselves. So let's begin. Let's see what Lord Shiva and Uma Devi conversation between Markandeya Rishi. Text number 1. Suta Gosvami said, the Supreme Lord Narayana had arranged this opulent display of his bewildering potency. Markandeya Rishi, having experienced it, took shelter of the Lord. So this text here is explaining about the pastime of the previous chapter. Previous chapter we heard how Markandeya Rishi, after getting blessings from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana Rishi, asked the Supreme Lord to show his illusory potency. Very reluctantly, the Supreme Lord gave him blessings. You will experience it, and he did experience it, and he regretted it. So let's continue. Text number 2. Sri Markandeya said, O Lord Hari, I take shelter of the soles of your lotus feet, which bestows fearlessness upon all who surrender to them. Even the great demigods are bewildered by your illusory energy, which appear to them in the guise of knowledge. So here Markandeya Rishi is making a very nice glorification in which he is indicating that conditioned souls who are attracted to material sense gratification, and thus they meticulously study the working of nature, as do scientists and other philosophers. Although they appear to be advancing in scientific knowledge, they become increasingly entangled in their false identification with material body, and therefore increasingly merge into ignorance. So the more you indulge in this material energy of the Supreme Lord, thinking yourself to be the enjoyer, the more you get entangled in the complexities of material life. So this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to save us from such complication and endless repeated birth and death. Text number 3. Suta Goswami said, Lord Rudra, traveling in the sky on his bull, and accompanied by his consort Rudrani, as well as his personal associates, observed Markandeya in trance. Text number 4. Goddess Uma, seeing the sage, addressed Lord Girisa, My Lord, just see this learned Brahmana, his body, mind and senses motionless in trance. Text number 5. He is as calm as the water of the ocean when the wind has ceased and the fish remains still. Therefore, my Lord, since you bestow perfection on the performance of austerity, please award this sage the perfection that is obviously due to him. So here we can see that it is Uma Devi that asks Lord Shiva to bestow blessings upon Markandeya Rishi. Text number 6. Lord Shiva replied, Surely this saintly Brahmana does not desire any benediction, not even liberation itself, for he has attained pure devotional service unto the inexhaustible personality of Godhead. So here Lord Shiva makes a very, very astute statement, very clear, very sharp statement. He's saying here that this Markandeya Rishi was uninterested in any reward available on any planet within the universe, nor did he want liberation, for he has achieved the Supreme Lord himself. So here Lord Shiva is saying that once a devotee of the Supreme Lord who has achieved the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, everything else in this material world will become uninteresting, unappealing. There is nothing in this material world that is as attractive or even slightly a drop of a water in the ocean attractive to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. So this is the point that Lord Shiva is making here. Text number 7. Still, my dear Bhavani, let us talk with this saintly personality. After all, association with saintly devotees is man's highest achievement, and that is very true. So Lord Shiva is saying here, a moment's association with a pure devotee can save one from this repeated birth and death in this material world. The most dangerous thing in this material world is this repetition of repeated birth and death, samsara chakra. So Lord Shiva is saying here that association of a Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava devotee, it is so potent, even a moment's association can save one from this repeated birth and death. Text number 8. Suta Goswami said, having spoken thus, Lord Sankara, the shelter of pure souls, master of spiritual science, and controller of all embodied living beings, approached the sage. Text number 9. Because Markandeya's material mind had stopped functioning, the sage failed to notice that Lord Shiva and his wife, the controller of the universe, had personally come to see him. Markandeya was so absorbed in meditation that he was unaware of either himself or the external world. So this is actually the effect of somebody who is deeply in meditation, meditating upon the lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Like I said before, once you have attained the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, you will forget about yourself and everything to do with this material world. Everything will become uninteresting. So much so that it is said here that when Lord Shiva and Uma Devi approached Markandeya Rishi, he opened his eyes and saw them, but he was not aware of them, because his consciousness was absorbed in the very sweet lotus feet of Sri Krishna. Text number 10. Understanding the situation very well, the powerful Lord Shiva employed his mystic power to enter within the sky of Markandeya's heart, just as the wind passes through an opening. So Lord Shiva, being the Supreme Lord himself, understand what is going on, and he took compassion upon Markandeya Rishi and entered his heart, where he has dedicated 100% of his consciousness on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and made himself aware in Markandeya's heart. Only then Markandeya realized, it's Lord Shiva, he's here. Text number 11 to 13. Sri Markandeya saw Lord Shiva suddenly appear within his heart. Lord Shiva's golden hair resembled lightning, and he had 3 eyes, 2 arms, and a tall body that shone like a rising sun. He wore tiger skin, and he carried a trident, a bow, arrow, a sword, and a shield, along with prayer beads, and damura drum, a skull, and an axe. Astonished, the sage came out of his trance and thought, who is this, and where has he come from? Text number 14. Opening his eyes, the sage saw Lord Rudra, the spiritual master of the 3 worlds, together with Uma and Rudra's followers. Markandeya then offered his respectful obeisances by bowing his head. So when Markandeya Rishi saw Lord Shiva and Uma within his heart, he immediately became aware of them, and thus also of his own individual self. During his trance, on the other hand, he had simply been absorbed in awareness of the Supreme Lord, and had thus forgotten himself as the conscious perceiver. Text number 15. Markandeya worshipped Lord Shiva along with Uma and Shiva's associates by offering them words of welcome, sitting place, water for washing their feet, scented drinking water, fragrant oils, flower garland, and arti lamps. So this is actually very exemplary. Any one of us can perform any one of this. Even if our enemy come to our doorstep, we should welcome him with at least minimum sweet words. Wow, please come, welcome, welcome, please come. And we can offer him a comfortable seat. And the third thing, the minimum we can offer them is a glass of water. So here, Markandeya, so happened he had water for washing their feet, scented drinking water, fragrant oils, garlands of flowers, and arti lamps. So happened he had these items there, and he employed them to glorify a great Vaishnava like Lord Shiva. Text number 16. Markandeya said, "O mighty Lord, what can I possibly do for you, who are fully satisfied by your own ecstasy? Indeed, by your mercy, you satisfy this entire world." Text number 17. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto you, O all auspicious transcendental personality. As the Lord of goodness, you give pleasure. In contact with a mode of passion, you appear most fearful, and you also associate with the mode of ignorance. Text number 18. Suta Gosvami said, Lord Shiva, the foremost demigod and the shelter of the saintly devotees, was satisfied by Markandeya's praise. Pleased, he smiled and addressed the sage. So here, Lord Shiva is also known as Ashutosh. Ashutosh means the one who is very easily pleased. But Lord Shiva is not so easily pleased by those who are non-devotees. Especially for devotees, Lord Shiva is especially very, very disposed, very, very favorable. Text number 19. Lord Shiva said, please ask me for some benediction, since among all givers of benediction, we three, Brahma, Vishnu and I, are the best. Seeing us never go in vain. Because simply by seeing us, a mortal achieves immortality. Text number 20 to 21. The inhabitants, the ruling demigods of all planets, along with Lord Brahma, the Supreme Lord Hari, and I, glorify, worship, and assist those Brahmanas who are saintly, always peaceful, free of material attachment, compassionate to all living beings, purely devoted to us, devoid of hatred, and endowed with equal vision. Text number 22. These devotees do not differentiate between Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma and me, nor do they differentiate between themselves and other living beings. Therefore, because you are this kind of saintly devotee, we worship you. So here, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are respectively manifestation of the creating and annihilating potency of the personality of Godhead Vishnu. Thus, unity exists among these three ruling deities of the material world. One should not, on the basis of the mode of nature, find material duality within the ruling potencies of the Supreme Lord, although that potency is manifested in the three divisions of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Text number 23. Mere bodies of water do not constitute holy places, nor are lifeless statues of the demigods actual worshipable deities. Because external vision fails to appreciate the higher essence of the holy rivers and the demigods, they purify only after a considerable time. But devotees like you purify immediately just by being seen. So here Lord Shiva is glorifying giving a glorification to Markandeya Rishi. He says here that visiting holy ponds, holy places, and worshipping deities only take effect actually after one has a realization, high understanding of the higher essence of all these items. Then these items can purify one after some time. But Lord Shiva is saying here that by simply seeing a devotee, by coming in association with a pure devotee, one immediately becomes purified. Text number 24. By meditating upon the Supreme Soul, performing austerities, engaging in Vedic studies, and following regulative principles, the Brahmanas sustain within themselves the three Vedas, which are non-different from Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma and me. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto the Brahmanas. So here Lord Shiva is glorifying the Brahmanas further. He says a pure devotee of the Supreme Lord is considered the most elevated of Brahmanas, since all spiritual endeavor culminate in the loving service of God. Text number 25. Even the worst sinner and social outcast are purified just by hearing about or seeing personalities like you. Imagine then how purified they become by directly speaking with you. Another wonderful glorification by Lord Shiva of pure devotee Vaishnavas. Text number 26. Suta Gosvami said, drinking with his ears Lord Shiva's nectarian words full of the confidential essence of religions, Markandeya Rishi could not be satisfied, cannot be satiated. He wants to hear more and more. Such glorification by a pure devotee like Lord Shiva. Text number 27. Markandeya having been forced by Lord Vishnu illusory energy to wander about for a long time in the water of dissolution, had become extremely exhausted. But Lord Shiva's words of nectar vanquished his accumulated suffering. Thus he addressed Lord Shiva. So here Markandeya Rishi is exhibiting the symptoms of somebody who, after experiencing this material world and being exhausted by it, the illusory potency, he experienced it in his full power, and he was being very tired after that experience. He is saying here, by simply being in association of a pure devotee like Lord Shiva and listening to his nectarian words, his accumulated suffering is destroyed. Okay. So here Markandeya Rishi had desired to see Lord Vishnu illusory energy and had suffered extensive miseries, but now in the person of Shiva, Lord Vishnu again appeared before the sage and relieved all his suffering by imparting blissful spiritual instructions. Text number 28. Sri Markandeya said, it is indeed most difficult for embodied souls to understand the pastimes of the universal controller, for such lords bow down to and offer praise to the very living being they rule. So Markandeya Rishi here is making one statement about the Supreme Personality of Godhead that is actually very bewildering. So let's just read the purport, see what it says here. In the material world, conditioned souls strive to lord it over one another. Therefore, they cannot understand the pastime of the actual Lord of the universe. Such bona fide lords have a wonderful, magnanimous mentality and thus sometimes bow down to the most qualified and saintly among those their own subjects. Just like what Lord Shiva is doing here with Markandeya Rishi. Text number 29. Generally, it is to be induced embodied souls to accept religious principles that the authorized teachers of religions exhibit ideal behavior while encouraging and praising the proper behavior of others. So Vaishnava devotees, usually they are very exemplary in their behavior because they understand those who are not so advanced and those who are innocent, they will blindly follow in the exemplary behavior of these Vaishnavas, of these great devotees. And simply by following the footsteps of these great Vaishnava devotees, these Vaishnava acharyas, one make very quick advancement in spiritual life. So this is how Vaishnavas, they give blessing to everyone, including those who are envious of Lord Vishnu. Text number 30. This apparent humility is simply a show of mercy. Such behavior of the Supreme Lord and his personal associates, which the Lord affects by his own bewildering potency, does not spoil his power any more than a magician's power are diminished by his exhibition of tricks. Text number 31 to 32. I offer my obeisances to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who had created this entire universe simply by his desire and then entered into it as the Supersoul. By making the mode of nature act, he seems to be the direct creator of this world, just as a dreamer seems to be acting within his dream. He is the owner and ultimate controller of the three modes of nature, yet he remains alone and pure, without any equal. He is the supreme spiritual master of all, the original personal form of the absolute truth. So here the Supreme Lord releases his material potencies, and by their interaction, creation takes place. The Lord remains aloof as the supreme transcendental entity. Still, because the entire creation unfolds according to his design and will, his controlling hand is perceived within all things. People thus imagine that God is the direct builder of the world, although he remains aloof, creating through the manipulation of his multifarious potencies. Text number 33. O all-pervading Lord, since I have received the benediction of seeing you, what other benediction can I ask for? Simply by seeing you, a person fulfills all his desires and can achieve anything imaginable. Text number 34. But I do request one benediction from you, who are full of all perfection and able to shower down the fulfillment of all desires. I ask to have unfailing devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and for his dedicated devotees, especially you. So now Markandeya Rishi finally, when he had the opportunity of meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he asked the right benediction. Before this, he asked to see the illusory potency of the Lord. That was not very intelligent. Why? Because the illusory potency of the Lord is connected to this material world. So in one way, it is actually material in connection. So it is not possible for the living entity to fully appreciate or even understand the unlimited potency of Sri Krishna. How can the limited living entity understand the unlimited? It is not possible. So the acharyas in our sampradaya, they say that please don't try to understand the Supreme Lord. Simply try to love him by try to please him through his pure devotees. So let's see what the purport says here. Desires manifest itself within the mind and the heart according to the subtle laws governing consciousness. Pure desire to engage in the loving service of the Lord brings one to the most exalted platform of consciousness, and such a perfect understanding of life is available only by the special mercy of the Lord's devotees. Text number 35. Suta Goswami said, thus worshipped and glorified by the eloquent statements of the sage Markandeya, Lord Sarva, Lord Shiva, encouraged by his consort, replied to him as follows. Text number 36. O great sage, because you are devoted to Lord Adoksaja, all your desires will be fulfilled. Until the very end of this creation cycle, you will enjoy pious fame and freedom from old age and death. Text number 37. O Brahmana, may you have perfect knowledge of past, present and future, along with transcendental realization of the Supreme, enriched by a renunciation. You have the brilliance of an ideal Brahmana, and thus may you achieve the post of the spiritual master of the Puranas. Text number 38. Suta Goswami said, having thus granted Markandeya Rishi benediction, Lord Shiva went on his way, continuing to describe to Goddess Devi the accomplishments of the sage and the direct exhibition of the Lord's illusory power that he had experienced. Text number 39. Markandeya Rishi, the best of the descendants of Bhrigu, is glorious because of his achievements of perfection in mystic yoga. Even today, he travels about this world, fully absorbed in unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text number 40. I have thus narrated to you the activities of the highly intelligent sage Markandeya, especially how he experienced the amazing power of the Supreme Lord's illusory energy. Text number 41. Although this event was unique and unprecedented, some unintelligent person compare it to the cycle of illusory material existence, and the Supreme Lord has created for the conditioned soul an endless cycle that has been continuing since time immemorial. So here Markandeya Rishi, being drawn into the Lord's body by his inhalation and expelled again by his exhalation, should not be considered a symbolic description of the perennial cycle of material creation and annihilation. This portion of the Srimad Bhagavatm describes a real historical event experienced by a great devotee of the Lord, and thus trying to relegate the story to a mere symbolic allegory are here declared to be unintelligent fools. Text number 42. O best of the Bhrigus, these accounts concerning Markandeya Rishi conveys the transcendental potency of the Supreme Lord. Anyone who properly narrates or hears it will never again undergo material existence, which is based on the desire to perform fruitive activities. Thus ends the purport of the humble servant of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada of the 12th canto, 10th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Lord Shiva and Uma Glorify Markandeya Rishi.